a lot of WoW players are dropping WoW and now they're moving over to RuneScape. And this is happening at like a massive rate. I'm kind of surprised that it's gone this far.
Why are there so many World of Warcraft players switching to old school RuneScape? You must have
Better graphics.
noticed them, right? Lurking around the Grand Exchange, trying to
why.
parse on a goblin, wondering where their ability bars are, and asking how Jagex is managing to update the game rather than re-releasing the same exact content over and over and over again.
Imagine that.
I sure did, because I'm one of those WoW players.
Oh, wow.
A year and a half ago, after around half a month of MMO soul searching, I found old school RuneScape. I had quit WoW after Mythic raiding for around a decade.
Quit during Shadowlands.
Civilian structure complete.
That expansion did, like, totally... It did irreversible damage to the game.
For various reasons. I was sick of the short-form, seasonal ethos of the game, devaluing any and all of my progression, sick of the only value...
Thank you. I hate the seasonal model. I think it's so stupid. Expansion should be the seasons. There should not be seasons within expansions.
Content
it's
being
too fast.
instanced, bored of the binary itemization and samey loot.
Civilian structure complete.
Blizzard's complacency
What's the
with
plan?
classic
We'll need to act
incarnation of
fast.
the game.
Good day,
Clearly,
Commander.
I wasn't the only
Can we still
one.
turn the
Mad
tide in
Season,
our
Yuzu,
favor?
Karadis,
Prepare
Savix,
to
and more have
engage,
since
but
begun
we might
their
need some
first steps
backup.
into this beloved,
What's the plan?
curated
We'll need to
sandbox.
act
So
fast.
they're all going over.
Proceeding as
everybody is
ordered,
going over to
but I don't
RuneScape
like
now.
this.
About RuneScape seems to have translated for the World of Warcraft player.
Wow.
And why? First, we must acknowledge where these WoW creators come from. Unlike myself, most of them are classic WoW players, an old school 2004 incarnation of World of Warcraft, much like
the best version of the game, by the way.
Old school RuneScape
By
is
a mile,
of
it's not
RuneScape.
even close.
Unlike OSRS, though, this version of World of Warcraft is following the timeline of WoW itself.
Yeah.
Blizzard has been updating classic WoW every few months with new patches and eventually the very same expansions that released years ago. The initial release in 2018 is now entering the Mists of Pandaria expansion and resembles Retail WoW, the modern game, much more than it does Classic WoW or Vanilla WoW, the version from 2004. It's
WoW turned into Retail WoW in the patch for Trial of the Crusader. That's when it happened. Before that, it was WoW. After that, it was Retail.
Interesting to imagine a version of old school RuneScape that just kind of began releasing all the same updates, eventually ruining the game for the very same players that returned to it because it lacked those updates.
Yep.
Blizzard understood and saw this as the player base continued to shrink. Therefore, they opted for the seasonal servers that remixed the standard classic vanilla WoW experience. The Season of Mastery, and eventually the Season of Discovery. These year-long servers run down the line of all the same patches that were released between 2004 and 2006.
I think the reason why these didn't really catch on and retain a player base is because a lot of people don't want to invest into an MMO that's transient. Like, people don't want to put all of their time and energy, effort, and emotion into a community and into a world that they know is going to disappear in a year. I think that's one of the big reasons why OSRS is receiving such a resurgence. It's because it's a game that has such a long tenure that people know that the time that they invest into the game now will matter later on.
Updates. The latter, Season of Discovery, or SOD, introduced runes and granted all kinds of player power in the form of new abilities and many, many old ones from future expansions, as well as reworked some of the raids and even added one new raid toward the end.
Yeah.
It was an interesting experiment. Finally, Blizzard released the Classic Anniversary servers, so just Vanilla Classic again, for a second, or some would argue, fourth time. That's the first point to take note of. These
civilian research tier complete.
Even I, to a certain extent, still do as well. Especially Classic, a version of the game that I think is most tangibly an MMORPG. It's wonderful. Yet, regardless of your love for it, anything exceptional becomes dry over time, especially when not allowed
Let's
to
show
exist
them what
in
we're
our
made
mind.
of.
Being fed the same thing, as great as it may be, over
Item complete,
and over
Commander.
again, doesn't foster a larger community. It pushes those sick of it away. And
well, it's also that, I mean, they've re-released the game multiple times, and at a certain point, people have played this enough, and there are no real, like, people
What's the
want
plan?
a
We'll
classic
need to act
WoW
fast.
that has updates.
We're falling apart
probably
here.
Kind of like
Need immediate
OS.
assistance.
Blizzard is never going to
How?
have like a good
They're
version
through
of
our
classic
armor.
WoW like Plus until they get rid of the seasonal
Times
idea
of
of the
war
game.
are
Not
upon
becoming
us.
sick only increases in time. The repeated cycles of Classic aren't getting any fresher, and
Yeah.
next time Blizzard relaunches Classic servers, chances are they'll see even less popularity. Similar
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I've lost interest over time, and I think another reason too is because
Military
I think Season of
research
Discovery-
complete.
This maybe is an unpopular opinion, but I think Season of Discovery created problems that Classic WoW had built into it, that those problems created the texture of the game. And Season of Discovery seeking to remove that texture ended up making the game worse.
Blizzard has floated the idea of a Classic Plus. This has been a long-running desire
Like all
from the
these
player
buffs
base.
and
Instead
everything.
of re-releasing the same
Like
content,
warriors that can heal, mages that can heal. That's not classic WoW. That's not the point. That's not the reason why it was a good MMO. The reason why class identity existed in classic WoW is because everybody couldn't AoE, everybody couldn't heal, everybody couldn't tank.
why not
That's why
add
it
truly
mattered.
new content to the game? In many ways, SOD was experimenting in that regard. Sadly, I'm a bit concerned with this. First, Blizzard's survey that introduced this idea was filled with nothing even remotely interesting systemically.
Stupid.
It had a whole
Yeah.
host of quality of life features such as account-wide collections and graphical improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, they were pitching retail WoW features alongside what Blizzard does most confidently: instanced content, new raids, dungeons, and
Yep.
so on. I suppose that's what people want, but I also think that this will kill the game down the line. You
It
can-
will, just because it's killed the game every single other time. Classic WoW is a good game because the entire game matters. Like what you do in Stranglethorn Vale, and Stranglethorn Vale as a zone has value even in the end game because of ZG and the buffs. Every single player can take part in the celebration of killing Onyxia or Nefarian because of the buff. All of these things are necessary in order to create a cohesive MMO that matters as a collective. But the problem is that developers, I think that the guys that are making WoW now, they don't understand that value, and they think that making the game in its own segmented ways is better. And it's just made it worse.
can add new skills, new classes, however, disregarding the architecture that makes most of these things function is an issue.
Yeah.
It may work well for retail, but that's because the modern version of WoW is competitive and singular in its vision.
Yeah, it
has
is.
an exceptional combat system that is the sole point of interaction with the rest of the game. By comparison, Classic
I
WoW
remember that
is
daily
emergent.
quest.
It wouldn't be far-fetched to say that it is defined by its leveling experience more so than its end game.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
endgame in Classic WoW, the farming for pre-raid bis and then raid logging isn't the most evocative or unique feature. Leveling through the enormous uninstanced open world, forming groups to take down elites and brave difficult quests, finding ways to solo bosses, just running through the dense jungles and open plains. That is Classic WoW. The endgame
Yeah, that's
is
an MMO. That's a massively multiplayer online game because you see other people, it's massive, and there's multiple people. Wow, it's the definition of the thing that it's supposed to be.
held together by emergent interactions never intended by the developers and seemingly never acknowledged since. The interpersonal relations of managing 40-odd raiders, the faction collusion, the
Yep.
war effort that saw, in my opinion, one of the best game series ever created around it.
Yeah, the Barney
Even the
videos were
collective
insane.
flight paths to gather meticulously timed world buffs. These are the heartbeat of the game that aren't retained by just improving graphics, adding instanced player housing,
Yep.
and a new class. This survey saw Blizzard double down on things that are neat, I guess, but aren't what actually makes Classic WoW good. With all of that out of the way, we must also acknowledge the lull that Classic is currently in. The anniversary servers are chugging along with the 100-odd thousand players still logging weekly, Season
That's
of
a lot.
Discovery has ended, and the modern version of Classic WoW, Jesus Christ, there are so many versions, is entering an expansion that most original players aren't likely to return to. During
Yeah,
this
I feel like I would probably play a new WoW expansion if it came out just because of content for like, oh, it's a new game that's coming out, I'm going to play the new game. but like I wouldn't really expect to like fully invest into WoW again, just because I feel like ever since Legion, really, we've just been playing the same game. And I think even like in classic WoW, like for example, there are items in Molten Core that are relevant for the entirety of the expansion or the entire game. And like in Burning Crusade, that's still partially true. Like the Shadow Damage Necklace from Karazhan, or like I think Gruul's what was it? The Gruul's Trinket is good until Sunwell. Dragon Spine Trophy. There's a lot of examples of that. DST, yeah, exactly. And so like you have a lot of them, and I think obviously Classic WoW had a lot more. You know, you had Talisman of Ephemeral Power, you had the Onslaught Girdle, you had you know, obviously Sulfuras, which was a legendary weapon, Thunder Fury, best example, best weapon in the game, period. And so a lot of, and that was in Molten Core, and BWL had things like the you know, Stylene's Impeding Scarab, or Ash Kondi, or something else, right? And so Classic WoW had this idea where every expansion and every patch was connected, and there was like a cohesiveness of these different raids, and there was a symbiosis of them. And now I feel like in retail WoW, you're only playing the patch and not the expansion. And I don't really want to do that. It doesn't feel like an MMO anymore. It feels like it's like a lobby simulator where you're just on this gear treadmill that is being reinvented every other year to give you the illusion that you're doing something different. Like I just, it doesn't feel like there's anything to it anymore. Everything that said, they add into OSRS as evergreen content. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying, right? Is that like OSRS has, like, they add new stuff in, but that new stuff is, it exists inside of a larger ecosystem. Same with PoE. Both examples for PoE, yes.
LOL, people want something, and that something, for whatever reason, is old school RuneScape. RuneScape and WoW have a combative history with one another. I'm sure older players remember just how competitive and defensive these two groups were. The RuneScape versus World of Warcraft videos on the fledgling website known as YouTube were a not uncommon thing to see. The arguments at a lunch table, the friendships broken or lost, all of it laid a foundation for many experiences in the mid-2000s. And a singular truth was birthed from the din of childhood tribalism. World of Warcraft is better because it's for people whose parents are generous enough to front $15 a month for a subscription.
That's the
Meanwhile,
reason?
RuneScape is the kids' game for losers who can only get $5. Or none bucks, stuck in the beleaguered free-to-play worlds like jobless middle school peasants. At that point, World of Warcraft was on top of the world. It was reaching...
Well, I think WoW was, like, classic WoW was so amazing for its time. It was like Halo 1. Like, there are some games, like, for example, Super Mario 64, World of Warcraft, Halo 1, that were just such generational, massive successes, like Elden Ring, probably another good example of it. That it just totally Zelda. Yeah, there's like a handful of others too. Oblivion, maybe. These games were just so insanely fucking good. But the problem is that while World of Warcraft, I think, has better gameplay than OSRS, I mean, by a mile, it has better graphics, etc., and it feels better to play. As somebody, like, I didn't really play OSRS a lot, but I think WoW feels better to play. At least Classic WoW does. The problem is that that's not really something that people are going to stay invested in if they just keep getting their shit reset over and over. And that's the big problem.
Its subscriber peak and growing. While RuneScape was undeniably a cultural force, it was always the lesser of the two. Times have kind of changed since then. World of Warcraft's popularity, while still at the top, has waned. The game has stagnated, failing to reach a new audience. Meanwhile, RuneScape has died and been rebirthed twice.
Multiple times.
Old school RuneScape has not only been growing, it has been thriving, especially in the past 2 years, where the player count has almost doubled. This is thanks to exceptional updates focusing on the early and mid-game experience and external community-driven marketing from creators and Jagex alike.
Wow.
Leagues, the limited-time Season of Discovery-esque but way crazier game mode released in late 2024, saw more than 200,000 concurrent players, and now the game is reaching up those figures without the help of leagues at all. For reference, this is more concurrent players than the total individual raid logs in Classic WoW's Anniversary Edition every week. In
Wow.
July, we're seeing the release of the final part of the newest continent, Varlamore, and
It's
shortly
that
after
big?
that, Old School's first entirely new skill,
Holy
Sailing,
shit.
which is expanding the world in ways never before seen in the game. Is that all it takes for the conversion for the WoW player to give it a go?
Well, yeah, it
Not
looks kind of like
entirely.
Azeroth now.
OSRS offers certain similarities in experience that are worth mentioning, like the emphasis on emergent gameplay. Emergence is when unique, surprising interactions arise from engagement with standard systems in a
Devilstorm
video
Mafia.
game. For example, in WoW Classic, it was the coordination between half a dozen guilds to time their world buff drops
Or that
for
too.
the most amount of players to make sure there are no overlaps. These are methods of interaction never explicitly designed by the developers. They emerge thanks to player need and
GDKP
creativity.
is the same thing.
My favorite emergence system in Classic WoW was learning Dire Maul tribute runs on my Hunter all the way back in 2019. Not only was it a difficult solo challenge, but selling the loot and buffs to different players was a really cool way to earn money.
Yep.
These things don't exist in retail WoW. The game has
Yeah,
been
I think his point right here is so good, because this is the main thing that I don't like about retail WoW right now, is the fact that retail WoW is effectively, it's been totally like all of those cool weird things you used to be able to do as a player back then have been nerfed, changed, or homogenized. Like that, yeah, you're always on like this very strict path. And I feel like what I really enjoy about like new video games and like new MMOs especially is being able to do really cool, weird things that you shouldn't be able to do. Like, remember like in New World, for example, we would do all those like stupid things like killing that bear and all that. I think that's what really makes MMOs special.
meticulously designed to be balanced and competitive. Therefore, any outliers such as this are immediately patched out. There's even a refrain popularized by players calling out this behavior. Fun detected, they say in unison, as
Yeah, fun
Blizzard
detect-
removes an emergent mechanic that may trivialize something.
This is
In OSRS,
this also, by the way, is why I criticized them removing GDKP. And in retrospect, now with Season of Discovery in hindsight, do you guys see how removing GDKP ended up damaging the entire game and it caused so many people to quit? It was bad. Yep. It killed Sod. I said that's, remember Rextroy? He's still getting stuff done nowadays. Yeah. It made Sod 100x better. Not really. I don't know. GDKP was community built, so it had to die. Yeah.
happens less. The line between exploit and emergence is thinner. It is also encouraged with the existence of the wilderness, a zone where PvP is enabled and upon dying, you drop
lose
your
stuff,
loot.
yeah.
If you are not the aggressor or unskulled, you retain 3 of your most expensive items. And if you are skulled, the aggressor, you lose everything.
Damn.
There is a tangible risk reward in the wilderness that makes it unlike anything else in theme park MMOs.
Oh, look who it
has
is.
singles areas for one-on-ones and multi-combat zones for group fights,
Yeah.
fostering a truly sprawling and occasionally terrifying environment. It has its issues, but is ultimately a totally unique element of RuneScape. The open world PvP during Classic WoW's heyday was kind of similar to this. If you decided to play on a
Yep.
PvP server, it wasn't uncommon to run into roving warbands of bloodthirsty players farming honor points on random people. It created
Season 2, or sorry, like not Season 2, Phase 2 of Classic WoW before they added Battlegrounds on a balanced server was peak Classic WoW. That was the pinnacle of the game. It was fucking amazing. And then, like, as soon as they added BGs, it was pretty much dead.
a hide-and-seek leveling experience that definitely got tiresome, but was pretty crazy nonetheless. This system is only begotten to wilderness in old school, so it's a bit more manageable there. Of course, in PvP, death is nowhere near as punishing in WoW as you only lose time,
Yeah.
but the general ethos of open PvP is worth considering as a point of interest. OSRS has emergence that extends far past PvP too. It wouldn't be far-fetched to suggest that the vast majority of PvE bosses in RuneScape have emergent mechanics defining them. whether it be safe spotting Dagannoth Kings,
Yep.
butterflying Akka, soloing Cox, and anything.
Soloing what? This used to be the case whenever you would solo raids. Like, if you look back at my old YouTube channel, one of my favorite things to do was I would love to solo old raid bosses because I just thought it was really cool. Like the idea that you could do that, or solo like dungeon bosses by yourself. And I thought that was amazing. And then somewhere along the line, Blizzard just decided to equalize everything. And then that entire meta kind of just went away.
In between. Even the skilling in OSRS is often
Got a cool
thought of
Sun
as an
Wall on my
emergent
yeah, I have a
experience
lot of them.
thanks to tick manipulation being a valid method for a lot of players. It also has an effective blend of communality and solo expression. Some of the most difficult content in OSRS is solo. However, the experience of playing the game itself is a lot more communal. Not in the sense
I
that
think that's what the future of MMOs is, by the way. The idea that you need 4 or 24 other people in order to do content, I think that is a very reductive way of making an MMO. And I think that the best example of that is actually just look at isekai animes. Almost every single isekai anime is either a person doing things on their own or a person doing things with a very small group of friends that they work in between with, right? People love solo content. Yeah, exactly. And all of those animes wouldn't be popular if it wasn't an aesthetic people were looking for.
demands grouping that's
Like
not
there's literally an anime called Solo Leveling that is the most popular anime right now in the world.
only method of multiplayer communality. Just being around others is enough.
Yeah.
Because the game isn't linear in its progression, it's a sandbox. No zone is ever out-leveled or outright devalued. You are just as likely to see high-level players in Varrock, the second city most players go to, as you are in the elven city of Prifdinas.
Oh,
Mario. Not only does this make the game feel more alive, it also creates the emergent experience of seeing someone, as soon as you zone in, wearing way cooler shit than you are, and giving you
exactly. Exactly. This was something that was crucial in original WoW. Whenever you would see somebody that was fully geared out, like you go into Stormwind for the first time and you inspect somebody with like full fucking tier 2 and Thunder Fury, you're like, what the fuck is this?
something
it was
to
insane.
aspire to as a result. This is of course dead in retail WoW thanks to
is.
the overabundance of cosmetic overrides applying in-game visuals to anyone, anywhere, making it impossible to tell if someone is a badass because they cleared a mythic raid or just swiped their credit card or farmed an old piece of content while watching YouTube videos on another monitor. Classic WoW, at least
Yeah, back in the day, if you wanted to look cool, you had to actually do content that was challenging. Nowadays, anybody can look cool because of transmog, which is like, it's like that. I mean, I did transmog contests, right? So like, it's not like I think that's bad, but I do think that there is a certain level of value that in order to even look cool at all, it's kind of like, remember Halo Reach had this, where like if you saw somebody with like the Hayabasa armor or like a couple of other like types of items, you would be like, oh shit, that's a real one.
original version didn't have cosmetic overrides, so
Transmog
being
did more
able
good
to
than bad.
actually
I
see
understand
what
that,
someone is wearing,
but you can
lent
see
a
what it took
credible
away,
aura
too.
of authenticity to the game world and its player base. Everything felt of that world, and the items being worn gained an aesthetic value. They were recognized. The legendary armaments were legendary. That has since faded in time thanks to the repeated launches and eventual mastery of all the content, but it did exist at one point. Because it's
I
persistent.
think that it mainly existed as like a facade because people just didn't really know enough about the game. The reality is that the reason why a lot of people had Scarabord or Thunder Fury is because they were guild masters or officers in a guild. But you know, it's still better than like participation legendaries that they have now in retail, right? An illusion of prestige is better than no prestige at all.
Updated, OSRS never lost that, and while certain gear may be less impressive today than it was in 2015 or 2005, new gear has taken its place. Seeing someone in Sanguine Torva or the newly released Radiant Oathplate armor, especially if they achieve these things on an Iron Man, is incredibly
Yeah, it's
impressive.
badass.
Just having that communally recognized value promotes more people to seek that recognition. After all, flexing your hard-earned achievements is
Being able to show off in video games matters a lot, because a lot of the people that play MMOs are people that have been disaffected by the real world, and they want to seek a secondary world where they can accomplish goals and achieve those goals in a way that is fair to them, that the real world doesn't provide. That's another really big component to this. Like MMOs, and this is the reason why MMOs are so popular among young guys. It's because if you're a 16 or 17-year-old guy, you don't have really any avenue to express yourself as a guy, right? I mean, like as like that guy. You don't have any, like, you're a loser basically. And so you can play a video game and you can work hard at this video game and you can achieve something that matters. And when a video game has a bunch of pay to win in it and it takes those things away from you, then that entire structure is removed. And so people spend so much money on prestige in real life. Think about how much money people spend on Prada or Lamborghinis or a Porsche or something like that, like Supreme clothes. All of these things have inflated values because of what they project. And what I'm saying is that for a lot of disaffected and young people, video games provide an alternate form of them to be able to seek out that same satisfaction that they're not able to achieve in real life.
or part of existing alongside other people, whether it be in-game or not. World of Warcraft, at least right now, is failing to offer
That's sad. You could say that it's sad, but I also don't think it's really, I think it's natural. If you're a young guy, you want to find a place where you'll be taken seriously and treated like an adult. Like, that's what you want. Like, you don't want to be treated like a kid. Like, that's what happens. It's natural. Yeah, this has been going on for thousands of years.
Permanent home for its players, asking them time and time again to recreate the same characters and re-experience the same events.
Yeah.
Bro, I wish Classic WoW Hardcore had these challenges. Goodness gracious, man.
Hey, that's not bad.
These are so
That's the
cool.
last Batwave. I have a decent amount of prayer.
This is exactly what I've been
56
asking
also
for
had a
forever.
bit of a sketchy lore, but not one that I haven't done before.
It's funny, I criticize Retail WoW for becoming a fleeting seasonal experience that devalues everything you've earned every new patch, but Classic WoW has become that too.
Well, Retail WoW is its own competitive game, and it's made for a specific audience. I don't think they should change the way Retail WoW works. They have made their bed, now lay in it. You've decided to make the game that way. You've curated this audience of people that just want to play that game. Then just keep doing that. It obviously works for them.
With every new incarnation, it resets everyone back to zero and asks them to run that treadmill again. Blizzard is plagued by the disease of seasonality. They seem incapable of creating anything outside of that paradigm because it is the only way to foster continuous engagement in their eyes. Perhaps that's more a fault of the theme park MMO than it is of their own creativity. The Season of Discovery, being seasonal in name, also operated this way. It had incremental level gates, 20, 30, 40, and so on, that acted like miniature expansion releases with a new raid, some new content, and new abilities and other stuff. Blizzard, being tied to this seasonal model, was terrified of making players feel like they need to catch up to their friends, so they caught up for them. Level boost.
That's the issue. That's the issue right there. The moment that Blizzard started catching players up instead of letting them play the game at their own pace is, I think, the moment that the MMO aspect of the game started to recede and die. And I think it started in Wrath of the Lich King, and it just got worse.
Experience boosts, and so on. It became so disconnected conceptually from the original classic, the original vanilla, the experience people originally connected with, that it asked them to skip it entirely. Expediting the leveling in classic is like offering maraschino cherries as the dessert itself. It's like the rosemary being garnished by the steak. It makes absolutely no sense and caters to a demographic of players that exist antithetically to an MMO.
Fucking Exactly. 100%. That's what I've been trying to say. Completely. A perfect line? Yes. That's the way that I felt about it for a long time. That's why I said in Wrath of the Lich King, they hit a ceiling with attracting MMO players, and then so they started making the game for people that didn't like MMOs, and eventually the game became a game that wasn't for people that liked MMOs.
The genre is defined by persistent engagement, a world that continues living. But by promoting momentary engagement for incredibly short periods of time, you create artificial bursts of popularity and then long lulls where most prospect players don't want to join because it looks dead. But here we are today. Players clearly want some kind of emergent experience in a growing game. One of my favorite examples of this was actually in Classic WoW's anniversary servers released only a little while ago. OnlyFans, a content creator-driven guild conceptualized by streamer Soda Poppin'. It was a communal experiment.
Miskiff must be so mad right now. Man, that sucks. Damn, bro, like they didn't even name him.
A creator house like you'd see back in 2016, but done in World of Warcraft. It was a persistently running reality television show that tested the mental fortitude of all those involved, because OnlyFans was less so about the game and more so about people interacting with one another through the game.
Who you think? Look at that.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Holy shit!
No, Pivov, you've gotten every single item.
You have gotten a lot of items.
He's gotten it, and it's good for Warrior. You've gotten every item, bro.
Dude, listen. I'll pass if you come to my stream and rate my physique.
Wait, what?
All right, get in.
Holy bro, what the
Was that
is that a bodysuit? Wait, this guy
you're
is shredded, by the way.
Yep.
Huge.
What's your body
He got
fat
married
percentage?
recently.
I followed Tyler 1's journey through the guild's rise and eventual dissolution. Tyler 1 is, of course, another streamer, popular for his abrasive and somewhat controversial personality and exceptional League of Legends play. Never
He's
having
challenger
played
player.
Classic WoW before, he ventured into OnlyFans with an open mind. OnlyFans was created on the hardcore server, meaning that if you die, you lose your character. And simultaneously, the guild ran alongside a host of add-ons, or in RuneScape terminology, plugins, that created race-driven competitions. Undead, Tauren, Orcs, and Trolls all competed against one another through this external system. There were raffles, battles, arguments, and everything in between. During
There's
this
a lot of fucking drama. Holy shit, there was a lot of drama.
process,
The
I watched
second one
Tyler
was so
1
much worse than
learn
the first for
game,
drama.
Go from meandering around, keyboard turning, and sometimes forgetting to attack, to running a 40-man raid. His interaction with different content creators, his fabricated drama with Soda Poppin', his insistence to essentially roleplay a rise to power, narrativized the entire experience. It did so well that when he died, it became a legendary moment within the community. While leading a raid into Molten Core, battling the fire elemental Baron.
I love the fact that everybody that criticized Pirate Software for roaching out ran away like little pussy bitches and left Tyler to die. This was the I'm still going off the high that I have from that from like fucking 6 months ago, because I called it. I said it. Everybody said I was wrong. Oh, and there it was.
Tyler 1 was faced with a decision. Go for the kill, DPSing down the final few percent and healing through the AoE explosions, or play it safe. Run away. His fatal call was to DPS. Go full.
He made the right call, by the way. He made the right call 100%. Any good raid leader would have made that call, and if he had a good raid, it would have been no problem. It's not even a question. Any good player, any good raid leader would have already said that. It's not even a doubt.
As they say, Zug the Zuggler, full send, and his shouts echoed through the voice call, unaware that many had already begun to to run, because when a death means a reset of your progress, it's every man for himself.
Go back in. Everybody back in. Everybody back in. I'm death wishing. Big
Sony.
heals. Big heals on me. Big heals on me. I'm death wishing. Big heals on me.
Holy shit.
Let the
It's
bomb.
him.
Big heals on me. Big heals on me. You can't lift.
They could have easily killed him here. They could have easily killed him. Any good raid leader at any period in time, anybody knows this is a 100% stay in and finish the boss. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 warriors in the raid. If each one of them pressed execute twice, this boss would be dead.
Finish it. Don't run. Finish. Finish. Don't run. Finish.
Oh my god! No!
The boss fell, but not without the death of many of those brave enough to fight alongside their war chief in his final.
That's right. Just like Garrosh. He was right about everything, and if the rest of the horde had stood with him, he would still be the war chief. He was betrayed.
Moments. This felt like the end of the story, and for many
Yep.
it was. It was facilitated by Classic WoW, by the hardcore servers, by the raid itself, but this existed only due to the emergent methods through which these creators decided to approach this re-release. Why do I bring this up though? For an OSRS player, it may be obvious. This happens all the fucking time in RuneScape. Not on the same scale as OnlyFans and Sodapoppin's achievement of managing to wrangle in the egos of dozens, if not hundreds, of content creators for months was unlike anything I've ever seen,
It was
but in a
impressive.
microcosm. This is RuneScape's most common creator-driven element. The best comparison is Deadman All-Stars, wherein a large OSRS content creator solo
It is crazy how I was right about everything. It really is. It's sad. It really is sad. It stores up air and pirate. Yeah, I know. It's scary. I said the most humble. Well, that I think that story shows my humility, is because I knew people could not see the truth. People would not believe the truth even when it was explained to them, and they had to see it for their own eyes. And I waited because I was confident that I knew what would happen. And I was right.
teamed up with Jagex by obtaining a custom server wherein 35 of the largest content creators in the game created teams of 5 in a full PvP version of the game. Almost every area became dangerous.
Oh, that guy got fucked.
In these servers, all 35 creators had expedited experience rates and drops, and a bit over a week of time to gear up for the finale. A King of the Hill style one-on-one deathmatch where they, donning the gear they've collected, were put to the test against one another.
That's pretty cool.
The 10-day period that this event spanned was amongst the most fun in the game's history, as following the individual and group-wide achievements and battles became so many people's day-to-day habit. The battles fought, the gear lost, the upsets, the strategies, the drama. It felt like a condensed version of OnlyFans buoyed by each creator's personality, loudest of which was Odablock. Odablock is the largest.
It's crazy that I remember watching the drama with him and that girl, and at the beginning I was totally on that girl's side, and then after watching all of Odablock's videos, I realized that he was actually in fact right about everything.
Just old school RuneScape
crazy.
streamer. He, much like Tyler 1, is an abrasive, controversial figure with a huge fan base. He's also one of the best PvPers in the entire game. He was the captain for the Odablock Warriors, and throughout this event, they became, in some ways, the focal point, the core narrative.
Damn.
In the draft, Odablock recruited what was considered to be the strongest set of PvPers. They were the only ones capable of defeating the solo mission snakes, a team labeled as this season's villains.
Oh.
This was because they had a rather toxic player that received a yellow card for potentially stream sniping. This was made worse by this player's previous history of less than honorable behavior, to put it simply.
Okay.
On top of this, many
the
felt as
roach.
though the snakes didn't have a particularly fun way of playing, as they locked down a specific area of the game
Yep.
and farmed it, all the
Peggy
while
16.
taking on group fights to snowball their growing advantage. On the day
That's
of the
smart.
finale,
Peggy
tensions
16.
were high. Odablock broke over 100,000 concurrent viewers, and simultaneously the old school and
Jesus.
RuneScape streams had a collective concurrent viewership
Yeah,
of
damn.
Peggy
over
16.
150,000.
Yeah, damn.
To say that this event gained traction would be an
That's
understatement.
insane.
As the Warriors began their first fight, it wasn't looking good. Good players fell early, and in this King of the Hill style system, the person who defeated the other remained in battle, granting the opposing team the ability to snowball an advantage.
Welcome
The cards did not look to be in the Warriors' favor, but Odablock himself hadn't yet stepped in the ring. As the bell rung and his character moved in, he disconnected. His entire home was DDoSed, and the competition, for a brief moment, was put on hold.
Of the Warriors, what can he do to claw this fight back?
Come on, you are
Oh, we got
Odablock. Play like
DC.
Odablock.
No, I think this is actually a tactical decision with
Really?
the sigils. Yeah, he's got the sigil of the
Interesting.
meticulous maid, so he's got that extra 40 accuracy bonus, so he can afford to sit in this tanky Verak skirt for some of the freezes.
That's
when
me
he
told.
knows.
Was it like instantly or after a little bit?
So, somebody did ask me, bro. It has to be because I didn't even start yet. I didn't even start yet. As soon as I crossed the border, I DC'd.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so fucking cringe. I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what to do because the phone, the hotspot, just can't. It can't hold it. It can't hold.
Are you able to change house? People are spamming. I'm not sure if that's viable. Like, how long would it take you if that could happen? How long would that take you?
I could try it. Yeah, maybe like 5 minutes. I could just run to a different house.
He rushed over to a friend's home, mouse and keyboard in hand, in an effort to continue the fight.
Oh my
However,
God.
it just wasn't the same. It is one thing to play on a friend's setup, and that alone doesn't feel great. But to do so in such a high-stakes, high-skill
Yeah.
competition, it's borderline impossible.
Yeah, he's cooked.
While he performed admirably, his misclicks were noticeable. The precision needed to play old
It's
school
not the same
RuneScape
mouse.
well is beyond any other MMO. So even a small change in setup create massive gaps in performance.
Yep.
Ultimately, the Warriors performed well, but they did not win. Their matches were the most watched, and in many ways, after their elimination, that story concluded.
Damn.
I bring up these two somewhat similar examples to showcase an overlap, a way to engage with the game that sometimes doesn't put the game first. This engagement uses it to uplift something else entirely, a community-driven event,
This always was the case, by the way, with WoW. Like, if you think about all of the old WoW moments, like, everybody remembers the Doomlord Kazakh going to, fucking Stormwind, right? Or the Serenity Now funeral raid, or, like, some of those other drama moments. Yeah, that was what it was all about, man.
creator design story a personally aspired to goal. The overlap between old school RuneScape and WoW Classic isn't systemic.
plague,
These
yeah.
games aren't similar. As Sodapoppin said while watching some OSRS videos, RuneScape is the bane for WoW players. It utilizes an entirely different skill set that doesn't translate. You'd think that would be a point of aversion, yet it isn't. Because the point of connection is far more important for a lot of people. WoW players might be looking for something more permanent as they currently linger in the seasonal lull, a period
That's the
Civilian
reason
structure
why. I
complete.
think that also there's another component to this too, that a lot of WoW players are now old. They're now
Yes,
old,
I don't have
with
all
gray
day.
hair, they're balding,
Firing
and
on
because of
turret.
that, they don't have the same amount of
Firing on
time. Like, how many
turret.
of you guys, really,
Target
but you
acquired.
either had this
Firing
happen
now.
personally, or you knew somebody who this happened to, where you were raiding with this person, and they got
Aye.
married, they had a kid, or they graduated college, or something like that, and they stopped playing the game. Like, I remember a very fateful day at the end of Burning Crusade where my friend logged on and he said, guys, I have taken the intro to psychology in my university 3 times to meet girls. I've been there for 5 years. I'm still a junior. I'm quitting because I need to get my life together.
Civilian structure complete.
This just can't keep going on. It's too much.
Civilian research
I told
tier
this story
complete.
in Legion.
Item complete, Commander.
A guy recognized who I was talking about. The guy, it was a paladin named Talonor. He said Talonor got married. Yep. So he actually did it, and he quit the game, and he got married. He graduated college, and got married. And the thing is that, the point is that a lot of people in WoW, their priorities have shifted, and as they've aged, they can't keep up with the seasonal model. Because the seasonal model requires consistent
Can I do outs?
investment. And
We're
you
falling
can't just
apart
pick up
here.
where you left
Need
off.
immediate
Like, for
assistance.
example, if I wanted to go
How?
play
They're
Black Myth
through our
Wukong again,
armor.
or I wanted to play
Times of
Metaphor
war
Refill
are
Positive
upon
again,
us.
I could
What's the
immediately
plan?
just pick up
We'll
right
need to
where I
act
left
fast.
off.
Military
And I think
research
that's
complete.
why Classic WoW was so good. But when
Defense
you're on a
upgrade
hamster
complete.
wheel, the
Comlink
accomplishments that you make in the
active.
game are receding. And so once your accomplishments recede enough times, you lose interest in them. And I think that's what's happened. OSRS, you never lose progression. Like for me, like losing progression in a video game causes me to just quit the game. Because it deletes the idea in my mind that I'm working towards a goal.
Between when their progress finished and when they must start it all again. A point
Yeah.
of reflection that